So it's recording. So good afternoon or good evening to one and all. And our speaker has already joined with us, Professor Shamsundar Acharya. And he's not a new face. I mean, he has delivered 3 talks on my platform. And today he will speak on political theory in the positivist tradition and interrogation. In fact, this title of today's talk is actually the continuation of earlier 2 talks. The first, I think, discussion on political theory, it started with the talk of, on my platform, it started with the talk of Professor, Shamsundar Acharya. The title was A Conceptual Understanding of Political Theory. And in the second talk, it was given by Professor Shamsundar Guru, and he deliberated on nature and significance of political theory. I think story has not, ended here. Story is there. There are many things. So political discussion on political theory, it cannot be complete. There are many things uh, that we should learn. So that's why I, asked and I requested Professor Acharya to give a talk on this particular topic, political theory in the positivist tradition. We understand behavioral approach, post-behavioral approach, but so far this term positivist tradition has not been emphasized. So what is that positivist tradition? And under this positivist tradition, how the behavioral approach emerged and how it influenced political theory. Whether there is a decline of political theory under this positivist tradition, or there is resurgence of political theory in the positivist tradition, and why the post-positivist tradition, or in other words, we can say that the post-behavioral approach emerged, and in what way political theory influenced by that post-behavioral approach. Or in other words, we can say that is there the resurgence of political theory under post-behavioral approach, or we can say that there is also a decline of political theory in the post-behavioral approach or in the post-positivist tradition. So when we talk about behavioral approach or positivist tradition in the context of political theory, then Charles Merriam, that name or that philosopher, it uh, comes before our eyes, and one can see the commitment to scientism in the work of Charles Merriam. So despite the growing commitment to scientism in the work of Charles Merriam, there was a little tension between the notion of empirical scientific theory and the study of history of political thought. So there was little tension or there was no tension. Accordingly, there were two parallel trends in political theory. One trend maintained the study of history of political thought, liberal democratic ideas, and their difference from the totalitarian outbursts. And the second trend tended towards political process and rational public policy. So in the first trend is represented by George Sabine, and the second trend was represented by Harold Laswell. Now, despite the long coexistence of historical and scientific approach, a confrontation started between these two trends. And the uncompromising approach of behavioralists is the prime reason of that confrontation. And behavioralists, they regarded history of political philosophy as unscientific, human, anti-Korean approach. And David Easton, he went one step further and he alleged that political theory has declined due to this historical study of politics. And this decline is clearly reflected in the writings of Dunning, Maclean, and Sabine. So, on one hand, Easton, Dunning, Maclean, Sabine, they said that political theory has declined. And on the other hand, philosophers like Leo Strauss, Eric Vogelin, Michael Oxford, they started to reverse the behavioralist. And all of them claimed that new science of politics, that is behavioralist or behavioralism, is the symptom of decline. They emphasized the revival of a great tradition of classical political philosophy, and they regarded behavioralism as the greatest danger to the political theory because behavioralism abandons the wisdom of past. Now, due to this penetrating attack, positivist assumption had been weakening in the field of political theory, and political theorists started connecting themselves with the substantial issues rather than scientific approach, and thereby post behavioralism or post positivism emerged. But is it the end of the journey of political theory? Is it the final stage of political theory? That whatever post behavioralism has asked the researcher to do, are we doing so? Can we say that political theory has resurgence in this post behavioral age, or there is some lacuna? So, what is the next? So, certainly in today's talk, the speaker will deliberate on this point. So, let me bring three or four points on which the today's deliberation will focus. First, what is this positivist tradition? Second, how political theory has been nurtured by this positivist tradition, and why post-positivist tradition emerged, and what is the status of political theory. When I'm saying political theory, we understand making and unmaking of political theory. So, what is the status of political theory under the impact of post behavioral approach or post positivist tradition? So, I hope the today's speaker he will bring some lights on this point. So, with this introduction, I once again thankful to Professor Acharya and I welcome him to start his deliberation on this topic. Yes, sir. You may start now.
Dear Himanshu, all the students, student participants, research scholars, faculty member if any, I'm very thankful that you have invited me to deliver a talk on such an important topic. But before I come to this important topic and I spell out my structure, let me make some clarification regarding some comment on my first presentation on theory, that is a conceptual understanding of political theory. So there has been comment on my title, a conceptual understanding of political theory, and it is criticized that it is confusing. I just want to say that a title cannot be detached from the context. It is context dependent and context specific. And even if you take the title on its own, that is a conceptual understanding of political theory, I don't understand why it is confusing. Because my task was to point out the difference between political theory, political ideology, political philosophy, political thought, like that, like that. So I gave the title A Conceptual Understanding of Political Theory. All of us know that the concept always evolves and there is no finality. You cannot say that conceptualization process comes to an end. Even if you say that it is a process of conceptualization, that also will not be conceptualizing political theory, that will also not be wrong, because that is a process. Conceptualizing political theory, that is a process. It goes on. And as we will see today, and we have also come across some of the points earlier, we know that it is a process which is evolving, which goes on, which continues. There is no finality. There is no finality. There is no dead stop. So to say that the title is a conceptual understanding of political theory, it is not at all confusing, because we want to understand political theory as a concept and how it is different from the related concepts. As I told you, political theory, political ideology, political philosophy, political thought, like that. We mainly discussed that thing in the first lecture. And moreover, we must know any lack of understanding or misunderstanding is a part of the theorist, is a part of the personality of the theorist. That is a stepping stone to better understanding. Nobody can claim that his understanding of the concept is final and there can be no addition to it, because it goes on changing, as I have already told. And Hacker points out, I have already pointed out in my first lecture, political theory, as Himanshu also pointed out, that political theory is an endless conversation among the theorists. Though the great debates have not been resolved yet, great debates have not been resolved yet, but the criticisms of the writers, they are very vivid and illuminating. So, political theory is, political theorizing, let me put it like that, is a great democratic exercise, and it should encourage tolerance. And we must have mutual tolerance, and we must tolerate others, and we must learn. We must contribute to the stock of knowledge. So I don't want to be more polemical, but I just wanted to make some clarification or to defend myself. Let me put it like this, that I wanted to defend myself so far as the title is concerned. Earlier talk, title of the earlier talk. Now coming to today's topic, we'll come to today's topic. Today's topic is very important, and that is political theory in positivist tradition and interrogation. So when I proceed, I have planned my structure, I have made my structure like this, that I will proceed like this. First first I will tell you what is positivist tradition, because that needs a bit of understanding. First we must understand what is positivist tradition. Then we will say that it's, what did it start in social science, so far as social science is concerned. Then how it impacted political science in general and political theory in particular. How it impacted political science in general and political theory in particular. That we'll see. We'll see what is logical positivism, linguist philosophy, etc. Because they are all connected. Because the roots of behavioralism, philosophical roots of behavioralism, lie in Kohm's positivism. Kohn is regarded as the father of positivism. That I will tell you. So I will tell you about this Kohm's positivism. Uh, I will touch upon that so that you can have a better grasp or better understanding. Then we'll have a discussion about this logical positivism, linguist philosophy, like that. Then we'll come to behavioralism, touch upon behavioralism, how it is positivist in positivist tradition. Some of the criticism of the behavioralism, so why post-behavioral revolution started. Then we'll again come to the critique of post-behavioralism. Then I will tell you about the post-positivist tradition. I will spell out what is the essence of post-positivist tradition. Then I will come to postmodernism, because I would say that this postmodernism will be fit into this post-positivist category or post-positivist tradition. And there is some doubt, I will tell in detail that there is some doubt whether post-behaviorism can be put under this category. So then we'll come to see, after that we'll come to see this decline and resurgence of political theory in the context of positivist tradition, post-positivist tradition. And lastly, as the organizer, Rimangshu, has requested me to tell about the research which is going on in Odisha and outside. From my experience point of view, and I will discuss what type of research is taking place, what type of research is going on in Odisha and outside, as I told you, within 1 decade, say within 1 decade. So what is the latest position? What is the status of research? From the discussion which we make, we will come to that. So this is my plan, or this is my structure. First we will come to positivist tradition. So far as positivism is concerned, the essence of positivism is that it studies world and people in it as objective things. It studies world and people in it as objective things. Then it wants to give statements based on cause and effect relationship, and wants to find out or discover social laws. And it points out that scientific method is objective. Scientific method is objective. And so far as positivism is concerned, let me tell you that positivism is a movement or an attempt in social sciences to model their discipline on natural sciences following their methodological path, or to be simple, in other words, to follow the methodological path of natural sciences. The attempt was made in social sciences, and the lead was taken in sociology. Therefore, as I told you, Kant is regarded as father of positivism. And not only Kant, you find Durkheim, Weber, all of them are positivists, though there is difference. So, Kant is regarded, as I told you, to have exerted maximum influence so far as positivism is concerned. Therefore, he is called the father of positivism. And I told one important point, that there is an attempt to discover social laws, because the positivists, they say that as there are natural laws which which regulate things like that. Social laws regulate social facts. Therefore, there is a slogan: treat social facts as things. Treat the social world as the natural world. Treat the social world as the natural world. Treat social facts as things. Social facts, and on the basis of social facts which govern human behavior, social laws will be discovered because social laws regulate social facts. Let me give you one example. Actually, they wanted to find out, they wanted to give law-like statement. The positivists wanted to give law-like statements. A causes B. For example, A causes B. So they wanted to give law-like statement. And more concretely, if we want to take a concrete example, let me tell you about Durkheim suicide. He gives the social law. He says that he has discovered the social law, and the social law is the rate of suicide varies inversely with the degree of social integration. The rate of suicide varies inversely with the degree of social integration. So this is a law. You can also call it a hypothesis. And let me tell you at the beginning, very outset or at the very beginning, that Durkheim's work on suicide. He has written a book on rules of social method where he has pointed out about positivism like that. And another book he has written on suicide, very important book, that is considered, and that is based on positivist methodology, and that is considered even now the model of social research. The model of social research. Suicide is even now considered the model of social research. So, Durkheim pointed out that this is a law. The rate of suicide, he points out, rate of suicide is a social fact. Rate of suicide, that means how many commit suicide per 1000. How many commit suicide per 1000? That is rate of suicide. Rate of suicide is a social fact. Social fact is governed by social law. And the social law he gave concretely that the rate of suicide varies inversely with the degree of integration of society. If there is more integration, inversely, it varies inversely. Inversely means when you have more of one, you have less of other. When you have more of rate of suicide, then there is less of social integration. When there is less rate of suicide, it means there is more of social integration. That is the meaning. So that is a social law. He pointed out this is a social law. So positivists want to discover social laws which regulate social facts. Social facts are values, beliefs, institutions which are external to individual, but they determine individual behavior. So far as this suicide is concerned, this suicide seems to be a personal, uniquely personal and private act. But Durkheim pointed out that its cause lies in social groups. Its cause lies in society, social condition. When there is more integration, there will be less suicide. So there is less suicide among Catholics because they are more integrated. There is more suicide among the unmarried people than married people. There is more suicide among unmarried people, married people with a less number of children than married people with more number of children. So more integration is there. When there is more integration, suicide will come down. Rate of suicide will be less. Divorced women is more likely to commit, divorced women is less likely to commit suicide than separated men. So that is also given by Durkheim. So these are social laws which the positivist wanted to discover. Let me tell you very pinpointedly that they wanted to discover social laws. They say social laws are there, they are to be discovered, and they regulate social facts. And social facts are to be treated as things. As things are governed by natural laws, as things react to stimuli, external stimuli, like that, individuals react to social fact, or they are regulated by social fact. Their social effects are independent of and external to individual, and they regulate individual behavior. So this is social law which the positivist wanted to discover. I hope that you have now got some clear-cut idea about what is this positivism, and it started in sociology. And after the Second World War, political scientists in the West, they wanted to abjure a priori political speculation and wanted to investigate into political realities in the light of hard scientific empiricism. In the light of hard scientific empiricism. And they found sociology to be attractive because by the time political science wanted to be scientific, sociology had already established itself as a positivistic and scientific discipline. So, all of you must be knowing that what is the cause of the emergence of subject like political sociology or a paper like political sociology. Very interesting. So, if you know this background, you can relate that why political sociology as a subject emerged or as a paper it emerged, a very important paper for us. So, political sociology emerged because of this, because we leaned more towards sociology. And political science became more and more society oriented instead of state oriented. Earlier, under the impact of traditional approach, it was more state oriented. But now it became society oriented because politics can be located anywhere in the social process. So, all of you now know what is positivism, what is its impact in political science. In general, I told you. Now we come to political theory. When we come to political theory, we find, because I have already told you that the philosophical roots of behavioralism lie in Kuhn's positivism, then logical positivism, and also linguist philosophy. So I am now going to tell you about logical positivism. So logical positivism started in 20th century in political theory, logical positivism, and it was founded by, initially it was founded by Max Weber, and then Wittgenstein, and then Popper also, Karl Popper. And what is their contention? They say that any reliable or valid knowledge can be obtained through empirical method. It can be obtained through empirical method of observation based on sensory experience. So based on sensory experience. And they pointed out that the value judgments are beyond the scope of scientific knowledge. Value judgments cannot be subjected to scientific knowledge. We cannot have scientific or reliable knowledge about value judgment. And they divided scientific propositions into two types. One is analytic, another is synthetic. Analytic is like logical, mathematical, that is analytic. Synthetic is adding the meaning to the adding a meaning to a given term, adding meaning to a given term. So that is synthetic. So they divided scientific propositions into analytic and synthetic type. And so far as Popper is concerned, let me tell you a very interesting point about Popper. Popper book, which is widely read in research methodology and which is also otherwise very important. Popper says, Popper wanted to add the principle of falsification to the principle of verification. He wanted to add falsification. And for him, scientificity lies in falsifiability. Scientificity lies in falsifiability. And he gave one example that if you say that all swans are white, if you give a statement, all swans are white, he says that this statement is not scientific. This statement is not scientific because you cannot exhaust all the swans. You cannot exhaust all the swans. You cannot be sure that you have exhausted all the swans, you have seen all the swans. You cannot be sure. So this statement is not scientific. But if one day you come across a swan which is not white, which is black or green or any color, of any color, then you can give the statement that all swans are not white. All swans are not white. And this statement is scientific. This statement is scientific. So scientificity lies in falsifiability. That is given in very interesting book, which is the name of the book. The title of the book is often asked in NET JRF examination. The name of the book is Conjecture and Refutation. The title of the book is Conjecture and Refutation. Conjecture means hypothesis. Refutation means rejection or repudiation. So for Popper, the real basis of science lies in the possibility of disproof. The real basis or test of science lies in possibility of disproof. If you can disprove, so lies in disproof. And any amount of positive confirmation of hypothesis. I hope all of you have understood, or all of you know what is hypothesis. Hypothesis is supposition, which is the with which you start research. When you start research, you first identify a problem, then you formulate a hypothesis. So hypothesis is supposition. Hypothesis is supposition. When I told you that the rate of suicide varies inversely with the rate of suicide varies inversely with the degree of integration of society. That is also hypothesis formulated by Durkheim. And then when he proved it, that becomes conclusion. And that is therefore called hypothesis cum conclusion. That is also a part of law. Social law, as I gave you as the example of social law, that is a social law, that is a hypothesis, that is also conclusion. So now you can understand what is the hypothesis. So any amount of, because when hypothesis is put forward, that is subject to verification. Remember, when hypothesis is put forward, that is subject to verification. It must be verified. Otherwise, there is no utility in hypothesis. It must be verified. Either it is proved as true, or it is refuted or repudiated, or it is proved as false. So hypothesis is to be subjected to test. Remember. And as I told you, that hypothesis, any amount of positive confirmation of hypothesis will not entail its truth, according to Popper. Any amount of positive confirmation of hypothesis will not entail its truth. So truth cannot be established by positive confirmation of hypothesis. So those who are research scholars, they must be knowing that there is a null hypothesis. And this null hypothesis is rooted or traced to the Popper's philosophy. So we must know that it is rooted in Popper's philosophy. So this is logical positivism. And this logical positivism has relation with linguist philosophy. Linguist philosophy also agrees with the logical positivist, and both of them say that metaphysical statements are value judgments, and they have no cognitive value, they have only emotive value. From emotion, emotive. So they have only emotive value, but they have no cognitive value. Cognitive means you don't know a particular thing, you don't have awareness, so you don't have cognition. So that is cognitive value. So they say that metaphysical statements are value judgments, and both of them agree. Both these schools they agree that metaphysical statements are value judgments which have no cognitive value but emotive value. And for them, remember, philosophy is a second order study. So they underestimate philosophy. Just see, they say that it is second order study. So they don't give much importance to philosophy. They say it is second order study. And I have already told you that the philosophical roots of behavioralism lie in Comte's positivism, August Comte, okay, August Comte's positivism, and also logical positivism. So I have already told you what is logical positivism. I told you also what is linguist philosophy. So all of you can know the genesis of behavioralism. When behavioralism came, then it came with the pure science approach. It came with pure science approach. What is pure science? Pure science approach is the one of the points which were spelled out by David Stone. 8 points were spelled out by David Stone as main points of behavioralism. All of you know that is one is regularity, another is verification, another is technique, another is next one is quantification, next one is value or value free approach, next one is next one is systematization, then next one is pure science, and last one is integration. That means political science is to be integrated with other disciplines. So, if you look at all these points of behavioralism, spelled out by David Stone as 8 intellectual foundation stones, you find that positivists they wanted to make the behavioralists which were under the influence of positivists or which were influenced by the positivists, they wanted to make the discipline of political science more scientific, or they were seized with the science component of political science. In my previous lecture, I told you the slogan of the behavioralists. What was the slogan? Very interesting slogan. Slogan is, it is better to be clearly wrong than vaguely right. It is better to be clearly wrong than vaguely right. Because truth emerges from what is wrong, not from what is confusion. Truth emerges more easily from what is wrong, not from what is confusion. So they gave this slogan, it is better to be clearly wrong than vaguely right. So you will see the impact of positivism on the behavioralists. And that slogan is, as I told you, very attractive slogan also. And the post-behavioralists also, they have got a counter slogan to that. I will tell you subsequently. I told you in that class also, in that lecture I told you. So the post-behavioralists, they give a counter slogan, that we will know. And the behavioralists, they wanted to make the discipline of political science more scientific. And there was a great debate between the traditionalists and behavioralists. Great debate between the traditionalists and behavioralists. And you would be surprised to know that the traditionalists and the behavioralists, they were not on talking terms. So much disgust, so much of, enmity developed between traditionalists and behavioralists that they were not on talking terms. And another attractive point about the traditionalists is that they wanted to call themselves politicists, not political scientists. I hope all of you can understand why they wanted to call themselves politicists, not political scientists. So the traditionalists, in utter, disregard for the overemphasis of behavioralists on science, they wanted to call themselves not political scientists, but politicists. So very attractive point about this controversy between the traditionalists and behavioralists. And the main point is the behavioralists wanted to make the discipline of political science more scientific. And the pure science approach, which I told you, is that they wanted to have theoretical understanding, scientific understanding. So that precedes everything. That precedes application of knowledge to practical problems of society. They are not bothered if they have put to practical solve practical problems or not. They are bothered about scientific understanding. That is called pure science. So they have got pure science approach. And a very attractive book on behavioralism, all of you must remember, is The Behavioral Persuasion in Politics by Hinge Ilu. H-E-I-N-Z, Hinge Ilu. E-U-L-A-U. Hinge Ilu. So he has written one book, Behavioral Persuasion in Politics. And the introduction is, the root is man. captivating, very much captivating, that root is man. So he says in that book, and I am also interested in that book. I have got also that book with me, in Ilu's Behavioral Persuasion in Politics. Then there, he tells one very attractive point, or very interesting point. What is that point? That point is that the task of a political scientist is more difficult than that of a physicist. The task of a political scientist is more difficult than that of a physicist. In which way it is more difficult? Because the objects of study, in case of physics, like electron, like atom, they do not mind the way they are defined. They cannot talk back. They cannot talk back. They do not mind the way they are defined. But in case of political science, the political actors do mind how they are defined. And all of you know that when Hobbes defined human nature or characterized human nature in a particular way, he was not liked by his contemporaries. He was not liked by neither by the king nor by people in general, because he was brutally frank. So all of you can know that in political science what problem we have. So Hobbes did not use the ideological cosmetics of Locke. So he was brutally frank, and he was not liked by people. And he had to flee from one country from another, he had to flee from one place to another, from one country to another. So though I tell the students in the class that though Hobbes says that his mother gave birth to twins, himself and fear, but I say in the class to the students that actually Hobbes was not a timid man. Hobbes was a very brave man. Otherwise, he would not have cared to write like this, which would have annoyed people, which would have annoyed kings. He would not have written like this. So I say that he was a very brave man, very courageous man. And what you find in case of behavioralism, they said that they emphasize both technical revolution and theoretical revolution. But as behavioralism went ahead, theoretical revolution lagged much behind. Technical revolution went ahead. Technical revolution went ahead. So they made much contribution, no doubt, so far as techniques are concerned, so far as methods are concerned. So we are indebted to behavioralists from that point of view, that they have made tremendous contribution so far as technique is concerned. But theoretical revolution lagged behind. And not only that, in the name of technique or in the name of value-free approach, or in the name of scientism, in the name of pure science approach, they studied insignificant problem. So a very good criticism of behavioralism is that behavioralist can be depicted by the anecdote of a drunkard. By the anecdote of a drunkard. A drunkard lost his key elsewhere, but he was trying to sort the key under the light post. When he was asked that you have lost the key elsewhere, why are you searching the key under the light post? Then the drunkard replied, because light is adequate here. So the drunkard, knowing pretty well that he has lost the key elsewhere, he was searching under light post, and because light was adequate here. So the behavioralists were like that. They were doing what? That they wanted to study only those problems which can be studied or which could be studied scientifically, where techniques could be applied, howsoever insignificant the problem may be. Therefore, all of you know that post-behavioralism came as a revolution. And Sam Davidson, who started behavioral movement, or one of the founding members of behavioral movement, again started this post-behavioral movement, because in the name of value-free approach, they studied insignificant problems. Therefore, post-Federal revolution started, and as I told you, the slogan of the post-Federalists is very is worth remembering. That is, it is better to be vague than non-relevantly precise. It is better to be vague than non-relevantly precise. So this is the slogan of the post-Federalists. So they wanted to be relevant. They wanted to make relevant study because, and they wanted to restore value to an important place because values under behavioralist or under behavioralism, they were thrown out of consideration. They were thrown out of all consideration. So they wanted to restore value to position of importance. But at the same time, we must know that even if post-Federal revolution took place, that we cannot say that whether they give more importance to value or they give more importance to science. So the main criticism that Davidson wanted to combine the merits of both the worlds. But how far he succeeded? Very difficult to say. Because is it possible to integrate value with science? There remains the question. How far it is possible to integrate value with science? So science value, fact value association, how much it is possible? Because we know there, I mean, there it is very difficult to combine both. It is very difficult to combine both. So how far it is possible? And he wanted to combine the merits of both the worlds, no doubt. But we would have to find out. Somebody has written tragedy of political theory because we don't know whether Easton gave primacy to value or to science. We cannot say whether he gave primacy to value or to science or to fact. So it is difficult to say. So post-Federal revolution, as I told you, is very is though it is refreshing. It is difficult to say that it is free from, it is out of positivist tradition. It is out of positive tradition, it is difficult to say. Because it puts emphasis on the achievements of behavioralists and it want to integrate science with value. So their position can be questioned. And whether it can be included under post-positivist category, it is difficult to say. Whether it can be included under post-positivist category because they are attached to science. But when you come to postmodernism or when you come to post-positivism, I will first tell you what is post-positivism. Now, so far as the essence of post-positivism is concerned, one is that knowledge is subjective and value-laden. The essence of post-positivism, knowledge is subjective and value-laden. Data are dependent on the relation between the knower and the known. Knower, one who knows, and the known, who is to be known or what is to be known. So data is dependent on the relation between knower and the known. Knowledge is holistic. It cannot be reduced to only cause and effect relationship. It cannot be reduced to only cause and effect relationship. Knowledge is holistic. And according to post-positivism, there are multiple subjectively derived realities which can coexist. Multiple, let me repeat, there are multiple subjectively derived realities subjectively derived, which can coexist. Right? And the researchers, they say, I mean, post-positivist researchers, they say they must interact with the studied phenomena. They are not value free. They say overtly that they are value biased. They say overtly that they are value biased and They don't want to be, they don't want to show that they are impartial. They don't want to show that they are impartial. If you want to take one very important point of difference between positivist and post-positivist research, you will find that the importance lies here. Because the positivists, they want to claim that they are value free, they are independent of the data, they are independent of data. But here, as I have already told you, as I have already spelled out, that data dependent on the relation between knower and the known. And I have already told you that the researchers under post-positivism, they want to interact with studied phenomena. They don't want to claim that they are value free. They are overtly value biased. They are overtly value biased. And they are very much context laden. And they use context laden informal language. They are context laden and informal language. Another important point of distinction between this positivist and no, post-positivist approach is, let me tell you another important thing, let me clarify another important thing, that when we say quantitative research, that is positivist. When we say qualitative research, that is post-positivist. So you must not confuse. So qualitative research is post-positivist, quantitative research is positivist. And in quantitative research, that quantitative research is theory testing, but qualitative or post-positivist research is theory generating, inductive, but quantitative research is deductive and theory testing. It is deductive and theory testing. So remember this very important difference between the two, because I will again relate when I come to speak to you on research. I mean status of research in Odisha and outside. I will relate it with this. So do remember. So one is theory generating, qualitative research is theory generating, and quantitative research is theory testing. Now, when there is qualitative research or post-positivist research or post-positivism, there is emphasis on words, symbols, pictures of the members of the group which they use. They emphasize on that, and they use non-static or they are non-static. They have non-statistical inquiry. Non-statistical inquiry. Who? The post-positivist. The qualitative research. They have non-statistical inquiry, or they want to do non-statistical understanding of phenomena. And they are qualitative because they want to do study non-numeric records, not number. So they want to study non-numeric records. So now I have clarified to you what is quantitative research, what is qualitative research. I have clarified to you what is positivism, what is post-positivism. Now, if you analyze post-behavioralism, I have some doubt in my mind that whether it can be put under post-positivist category. Rather, postmodernism can be clearly put under post-positivist category. Why? Because postmodernism rejects the empiricist conception of science. Post-positivism, postmodernism rejects the empiricist conception of science. And it also does what? It also endorses the post-empiricist philosophy of science. Mark the words, that it endorses the post-empiricist philosophy of science. It endorses the post-empiricist philosophy of science. Popper, they accept Popper. Popper says that we can see that thing which only light illuminates. We can see that thing which light illuminates. So, mark this statement. So, my point is that if you take postmodernism, for postmodernism, there is no single political truth. There is no single fundamental political truth. There is no certain way of knowing a thing or acquiring knowledge. There is no certain way of acquiring knowledge. You cannot say that one way that is best. Like that. You cannot say that is only a particular type of research is the best research to understand a social or political event or social and political behavior. So to understand social or political behavior or to understand social or political event, you cannot say that a particular approach is best. It rejects the positivist conception of an all searching, I mean all encompassing, not searching, all encompassing, all it rejects the positivist search of all encompassing true picture of a social event. All encompassing true picture of a social event or a social or political event. So that there is only one picture, all encompassing picture. As positivists say, they don't believe in that. They don't accept that. So they reject that. So if you analyze all these statements of postmodernism, then you will say that postmodernism can be put under post-positivism category. But I have some doubt, as I have already expressed, that whether that it is debatable. It is debatable whether post-behavioralism can be put under post-positivist category. Now, after discussing all these points, let us come to decline or resurgence of political theory from the positivist tradition angle. So let us discuss about that. Now, so far as political theory is concerned, some criticize that it is on decline, or some others say it is already dead, some say it is on decline, some say it is already dead. Then, so far as this debate is concerned, there is a great debate. There is a great debate. About resurgence, there is debate. About decline, there is debate. But there are two trends. One trend is classical trend from the days of Plato and political theory as understood from the days of Plato and Aristotle to Hegel and Marx. One trend. Another trend is which we have discussed in detail. So far we have already discussed in detail. That is positivist trend. Positivist trend, scientific trend, or pure science approach, as we have discussed, and in detail we have discussed. The criticism we have also examined. So there are two trends, and this classical trend, that is political theory as understood by Plato and Aristotle, from the days of Plato and Aristotle to the days of Hegel and Marx, that is alleged to be on decline. That is alleged to be on decline. But evolution says what? Evolution says that political behavior can be studied from theoretical approach, can be looked at from theoretical approach. Theoretical approach which has got or which can take any of the three forms. As all of you know, you must know when you are taught behaviorism in detail, you will be taught that this is first one is singular generalization. Singular generalization. Then second one is narrow gauge theory. Third one is broad gauge theory or conceptual framework. So definition is sure that political, behavior can be studied from any of these three angles, from any of these three forms. He says like that. But it is also sure, remember, that political political processes and motivation. The study of political process and motivation is very important, no doubt. I hope you can understand when I say political process and motivation, all of you can understand that this is under the impact of behaviorism. Political process and motivation. The study of political process and motivation is more important than the study of institution. When I say institution, you can understand I am referring to the traditional approach. So it is more important, no doubt. Study of political processes and motivation is more important than the study of political institution, but by itself, it is not capable of theory building. By itself, it is not capable of theory building. Theory, in other words, goes beyond science. Though evolution makes claim, as I have already told you, theory goes beyond science. We must realize that. And Davidson blames historicism for the decline of political theory. Look, that Davidson says that historicism is responsible for the decline of political theory. Then what is historicism? That is, when you study the factual conditions which have given rise to values, factual conditions, then that is called historicism, and that is the task of a historian to do. That is not all what the political scientist should do. So, David Stone blames historicism for the decline of political theory. But when you come to Leo Strauss, he says that not historicism, but the scientificism followed by David Stone, or scientific approach or pure science approach, as we have discussed, or positivist tradition, which we have discussed. I hope you have understood, because though it takes complex form when you discuss this thing, naturally some technical things are, put forward or put forth. Naturally, some difficulty may be there. We can discuss about that. But all of you can understand that because of the positivist tradition, Strauss points out, dear Strauss, he points out that for this empiricist approach, or for value-free approach, or for this pure science approach, there is decline of political theory. And Germino also. Germino is another important theory to say that political theory is a critical study of principles, the way I define political theory in my first lecture. That is a critical study of principles of right order in human social existence, So Germino defines it like that, and Germino says that positivism, even in its mild form, is not congenial to the growth of political theory. Positivism in its mild form is not congenial for the growth of positivism. Political theory, not positivism, for the growth of political theory. So political theory and positivism, he says that these two cannot go together. These two cannot go together, Germino very clearly points out. And he points out that there are different types of positivism. One type of positivism is relatively open. First type of positivism is, according to Germino, is relatively open and undogmatic. Max Weber and Arnold Brecht, they are put under, or they come under this category. Max Weber and Arnold Brecht, they come under this category. And they say what? That there are limitations, they are conscious of the limitations and difficulties in separating fact from value. There are limitations and difficulties in separating fact from value. So that is called relatively open and undogmatic positivism. Then comes hybristic or extreme behaviorist. Extreme behaviorists like Simon and Laswell, they are extreme behaviorists, and they want to study a manipulated society, closed, manipulated society. There's Simon and Laswell. So they are important behavioralists, as all of you know, and all of you must be knowing, if you have read behavioralism, that they are extreme behavioralists. Then there are hyperfactualists. Hyperfactualists are those who emphasize facts. Hyperfactual positivism, that they overemphasize facts, and they overemphasize facts to the extent that they do not realize the necessity of relating them. Because all of you must know that theory will emerge only when facts are related one to the other. Because only if you go on accumulating facts, that will not lead to theory building. When facts are interrelated, then only when you establish interrelationship among facts, then only theory is built up or theory building is possible. So hyperfactualist, as I told you. Then another is axiological. Last one is axiological positivism. This axiological positivism is Davidson. I mean, under that category comes Davidson and Waldo. They come under that category. And Waldo and Davidson, they say what? That they realize that though value judgment may not be scientific, but value judgment and they are aware of the inevitability of they are aware of the inevitability of value speculation on the part of the social scientists. They are aware of the inevitability of value speculation on the part of the social scientists. So this is a mild form of positivism. But Germino is very clear. He says that even with the mild form of positivism, political theory cannot go. So political theory cannot revive, political theory cannot go along with even mild form of positivism. So he lays all the blame at the door of positivism or positivist tradition for the decline of political theory. And there is one Oxford. And Strauss also points out, I told you about Strauss. Strauss points out that the positivism, behavioralism, they are responsible for the decline of political theory. Because they do not allow the knowledge of, or they do not encourage knowledge of ultimate principles. There are ultimate principles, those who believe in values, they speak of ultimate principles. And knowledge of ultimate principles is not encouraged by this positivism. So the decline is facilitated and revival is not possible if we harp on positivism. So that is the viewpoint of Strauss and Oxford, who emphasize philosophical approach. So he says that, or we say that in 70s and 80s, 1970s and 1980s, because of the philosophical approach or because of the emergence of this philosophical approach in the form of Oxford and others, you find that it is said that political theory has revived. Political theory has revived because of the impact of those people who emphasize philosophical approach. Oxford says that philosophy emphasizes truth, irrespective of its context. It emphasizes truth, and it must maintain what it asserts. Philosophy must maintain what it asserts. Philosophy must maintain what it asserts, and he points out that that philosophy experience. He emphasizes philosophical analysis of experience, and he says this experience is different from experience by positivists, by behavioralists. This experience is different from experience of positivists and behavioralists. So he emphasizes on the philosophical analysis of experience. So this is the type of debate which you find. And Borg, for example, says political theory is very important. Political theory is not dead, remember. We can say that political theory cannot be dead. Political theory is always required. And political theory is always there. Political theory is always required. And people will always require political theory. If you don't give them political theory, it is nicely pointed out that they will borrow this from religious leaders. If political theory is not there, so they will borrow it from religious leaders. So political theory cannot die. Political theory is there. Political theory, every sophisticated man needs a sophisticated theory also. So theory is very much essential. And Bork is wrong when he pointed out that theories are the vaporings, nothing but the vaporings of the philosopher's mind, and they don't respond to the ills of the society. Bork pointed out like that because the theories they respond to the needs of the society. We must know they respond to the needs of the society, and people also accept them, and people are also prepared to shed their lives for the sake of or sacrifice their lives. Shed means sacrifice, SHED. So they are also ready to sacrifice their lives for the sake of political theory. Remember. So we cannot say that political theory does not respond to the needs of the society. And Marx is also not right when he pointed out that there will be no need of political theory when a new society is brought into existence. When a new society is brought into existence, his imagined society, when it is brought into existence, there will be no need of political theory. Political theory will always be there. Political theory's need will always be felt. It is as much needed as science is also needed. We don't say that science is not needed. Science is also needed. So I remember Hector. I remember Hector, which I told you in my first lecture. I told you that every political scientist is a part scientist and is a part philosopher. And every, I mean, political theory, he pointed out, is an endless conversation among the theories which I have already told you in the beginning. When I began, I told you that thing, that political theory is an unending conversation among the theories. So, political theory is always required. We cannot say, or we cannot say that it has stopped, or the evolution has stopped, because it goes on. Postmodern theory and beyond also, you find the political theory is evolving. We cannot say that need is not there, need is there, and also it is evolving. So we can always have an understanding of political theory. Now, when I come to the last part, now I come to the last part of my discussion, that is the status of research in Odisha, in political science especially, the status of research in political science. So I will also give you some examples from my experience in Fakirmon University because I was the research director there for 1 year. VC Vice Chancellor made me the research director there, and where I used to conduct the organize the viva of all the disciplines, including science, commerce, and political science, arts, or other art subjects. So, as I told you, that I have got some experience. So, I am going to tell you, and I have also examined the thesis of Jawaharlal Nehru University and Central University Hyderabad, and I have gone to Central University Hyderabad and also JNU to conduct viva from Assam University, Central University, Calcutta University. I have also examined thesis. So various theses I have examined, and on the basis of the experience, I want to tell you a few things because research scholars are there and other students also they will benefit from the discussion because they are also potential research scholars. They are potential research scholars. They will also benefit from what I am going to say from my research experience. I will tell you, as I have already told you, all the discussion which we have made here, we can see that research can be divided mainly into two categories: positivist and post-positivist. And remember, positivist, I have already told you, I gave you or I quoted Durkheim, this book of suicide or a book on suicide, very interesting book, and that even continues to be a model of social science research. So that continues as a model of positivist research. And so far as positivist research is concerned, because you have, as I told you, steps are that first you identify a problem, then you formulate a hypothesis, then hypothesis will guide you in the correction of data or facts, then you will verify the hypothesis, and on the basis of verification you will come to conclusion, right? So this is how you proceed in positivist research, and positivist research is very clear in the sense that Though it may lead to some research work on insignificant problems, as I have already told you. From my discussion, you can already know that I have already spelled out that some insignificant problems may be taken up for study in the name of scientificity, or in the name of scientism, or in the name of pure science, because we want to be scientific. So we want to apply techniques. Where light is adequate, we will take up that, or we will sort the key, the lost key. I will sort the lost key, as I gave you the anecdote. I hope you have understood that anecdote, which is very attractive, and which you must remember also in one of the research methodology books that is also given. That example I got it from the book of Wilkinson Vandarkar. There is one research methodology book, Wilkinson Vandarkar, and from that book I got it, and it very I have got much interest in that example, so I gave you that example. So in positivist research, the benefit is that nobody can easily challenge you.
Sir, any problem you are facing?
ठीक है
Okay.
हेलो ना ठीक
All right.
now it is all
Yes.
right
Yes.
हिमांशु
Yes. It's all right.
So, as I told you, from a positivist research angle, or the positive point of view, if you have collected data properly, I will again tell you about the fraud which are taking place in the name of positivist research. But if you have collected data properly, if you are sincere, if you are honest, you can claim that my word is final in the sense that on the basis of data I am telling. No, nothing is final, I have already told you. Nothing is final. And in the conclusion also I will tell you. After telling this thing, I will tell you in the conclusion. Nothing is final. Even if your hypotheses are proved, you cannot say that it is final because no certainty. Because no certainty is there, even if the hypotheses are proved or are confirmed. Because in social science research, we only try to reduce uncertainty. We only try to reduce uncertainty. We cannot say that we are certain. But the thing is that if your data, honestly you have collected data, and honestly you have applied techniques, then you can claim that this is my data, and on the basis of data I will respond to you, maybe in open defense, maybe in pre-submission, PhD pre-submission. All of the research scholars must be facing this problem. Facing this problem means there is some fear when you present it in pre-submission, when you present it in the form of open defense, because all the students will be sitting, teachers will be sitting, and they will be asking questions, and you will be answering. But you feel confident if your data are authentic, and that positivist research can ensure to a great extent. I always say. So I have attraction towards positivist research from that angle. Though I have already told you that insignificant problems may be taken up for study. And from my experience, I have seen that some dishonesty is taking place and some frauds are committed, in the sense that if you are telling that you have, if you are telling in the thesis that you have interviewed 900 respondents, but you have actually informally interviewed or interacted with, say, 10 or 15 of the respondents. So you see that how fraud is committed, how dishonesty is taking place. Research is very intoxicating, provided you do it properly. If you do it properly, research is very much intoxicating, and it will absorb you, thoroughly absorbing. Because you will try to see that what type of data you are finding, what type of conclusion you will come to. So naturally, it is very interesting. And organizing data is also important. So how you are organizing data in your thesis, that is very very important. And how, whether there is a coherence or not. But I find that sometimes fraud is committed. And in the name of hypothesis, as I told you, I was the research director in Pokemon University. In MCA, computer application, in MCA, what happened that one of the scholars who got PhD, he was teaching in some engineering college, he gave one hypothesis. Just see, I am giving you as an example that he gave one hypothesis that was examined by I mean the examiners, and it was okayed also by them. And in the open defense, that means the final stage where I figured in, I saw that the hypothesis is wrong. What was the hypothesis? Hypothesis was that there should be no virus in the system. There should be no virus in the system. I told him that you are a science teacher. You should guide us. But you have taken one hypothesis only, and that is wrong. Because hypothesis cannot be in the form of ought, should be, or in terms of value. It must be a factual statement, and which must be verified. And all of you know that values cannot be verified. So when you say that there should be no, I mean, virus in the system, that is no hypothesis, because you are only putting a value statement. If you say that children beat parents in USA, children beat parents in USA, you can verify that. If you say children should not beat parents, you cannot verify children should not beat parents. So I told him that how come you have taken this hypothesis and this has been okayed everywhere? Because hypothesis is put to test. Hypothesis, condition of hypothesis that it is put to test. So though positivity research is very alluring, because I told you why it is alluring, because conclusion you come to cannot be challenged easily, and you can defend yourself in open defense, and you feel satisfied also if you have done data collection properly, and if you have organized data properly, if you have applied the techniques properly, you can feel confident, you can face anybody, because thesis is will always stay with you, and you will have to put it in some other time. Somebody may ask about your thesis, so one should be very clear. And now coming to qualitative research. Qualitative research, as I have already told you, some words, symbols, they are taken into account, and the strategy which they take, that is very important. Whether it is interpretative or whether it is explanatory. So the strategy of qualitative research. So my point is that I have examined some theses, as I told you, of JNU, and I have gone to conduct Viva also, and whose Viva I conducted, he is now university assistant professor. I asked her in the interview that, as I have already told you, that qualitative research or post-positivist research is theory generating. So I asked that, can you tell me what type of theory you have generated from your research? Can you tell me what type of theory you have generated? She could not answer, but I told that you have already generated some theory. I have gone through the thesis and I have seen that you have generated some theory. This is the theory. I told her. The point is that whatever you write in research work, you are required to justify. And let me tell you, I may forget, so let me tell you here at this point that not that there is watertight compartment between qualitative research and quantitative research, between positive research and post-positive research. There is no watertight compartment. You can combine. You can combine also that you can say that this person I have taken or I have followed both quantitative approach and qualitative approach. You can say positivist approach and post-positivist approach. But whatever you say, you justify. But I have the whatever my experience is that many research scholars they write about methodology because they are required to write about methodology, but they don't know what type of methodology they have followed or they have not justified. But you must justify throughout the thesis. You must justify. So if you take null hypothesis, then you will say that what is null hypothesis, then you must contradict so that your, I mean, alternative hypothesis is proved. So you have to do like that. But some of these scholars, they are tempted at the language, null hypothesis, they must take null hypothesis. Then why do you take null hypothesis if you cannot justify it? So my point is that what you take, whatever you take, you must justify. Because research is that whatever you write is correct, but you must be in a position to justify. Unless you justify what you say or what you write, then that is not research. And very interesting, I find that even some science research scholars, as a research director, I organized their open defense. I just say that a few lines from their thesis, you just explain what you have written here. They fail to explain. They fail to explain. So, whatever you write, you must understand, number one. And whatever you write in your thesis, you must justify. Some give in their title Gandhian, Gandhian paradigm. Then I asked, what is this paradigm? Throughout the thesis, there is no mention about paradigm. Throughout the thesis, there is no mention about paradigm. But paradigm word is used in title. Just you see what type of research is done. So you must be very clear whether it is qualitative or it is quantitative, whether it is a combination of both or it is positivist only or post-positivist only. You must be in a position to justify, and you must be honest. You must be honest. And my experience is that in the name of research, many works are done which are not done honestly. So the research scholar, first of all, must be honest. I find very interestingly, 10 of the scholars, they have got PhD under my guidance. One of the scholars, they wanted to confuse me. Put one footnote, which is actually not there. I thought that I knew that this footnote must not be there anywhere. Or this reference must not be there anywhere. So I asked him, then where from have you got this reference? He could not tell me, then I had to put one of my writings there, my name and my writing, because in that chapter some footnotes are required. So just see. So the dishonesty to this extent that you don't believe your guide also, and you try to befool your guide also. So my point is that one must be very honest, integrity must be there, and naturally guide will be very annoyed if he finds that this scholar is befooling the guide. So one must be very clear whether it is positivist or post-positivist, and one must have integrity, and one must be very clear what he has mentioned in the thesis, what is the title in the what is in the title of the thesis. Then one must clarify. So if they are taken care of, I hope that one research will be remembered. I mean, product of research, or result of research will be appreciated all the time. Will be appreciated all the time. And you can bring out in the form of book also, because all those scholars do not bring out their thesis in the form of books. So they can be brought out in the form of books, and they will be of lasting contribution to the field of knowledge. And lastly, I want to say, while winding up, I would like to say, I have already told you that there is no certainty even in positivist research. There is no certainty. You cannot say that you have tested a hypothesis and you are certain about the conclusion. You cannot say like that. As I told you, from various research methodology books, what I have read is that only we try to, whatever may be the design of proof, whatever, even in good and hard, very important book, very interesting book, and in JNU it is very much followed, and you will find that it is written there that certainty cannot be obtained by any design of proof. Any design of proof you take, only we want to reduce uncertainty, only we want to diminish uncertainty, and correlations are very low in social science. In social science, correlation are very low. And in social science also, when we follow experimental method under the influence of positivism, we try to follow experimental method because that is the model. We say the difference between the experimental group and the control group are less than obvious. Are less than obvious. I am repeating. So we must know that we cannot be absolutely sure. So what the postmodernists say, what I say, there is some correspondence. Some correspondence. There is no absolutely certain way of getting or acquiring knowledge. You cannot say this is the surest way of acquiring knowledge, and the other way is not. The proper way. You cannot say. You cannot say that positivist model is the best model. You cannot say the post-positivist model is the best model. and other models cannot compete with it. You cannot say that. And therefore, I told you also, there can be a combination. You can try to combine the positivist and post-positivist also, or the quantitative and qualitative research. So I have spoken to you for 1.5 hours. Now there can be some discussion, and I hope I have taken into account all the aspects which the organizer wanted me to take into account. And now we can discuss. And now, thank you all.
So thank you, sir. I think let the participant decide whether you have covered everything or not. But one thing, I think I agree and I disagree. You said that today you can use both the positive and post-positivist approach. I slightly disagree with you because post-positivist approach, in that approach there is a positive approach. So post-positive approach, uh, it unpack what is hidden by the positivist approach, that is the value. Otherwise, in the post-positivist approach, it is not against the technique. It is just saying that it should be relevant, and value and fact cannot be separated. This is the post-positivist approach. In post-positivist approach, you can do the qualitative and quantitative research, and you have to justify why you want to do a quantitative research on this topic. That same topic can be researched in a qualitative manner also. And in the if you see the practice of research, it's very difficult to differentiate between the qualitative and quantitative research. I think in every research you will find some sense of qualitativeness, some sense of quantitativeness. And research is done primarily for the society, for the good of the individual, good of the society. Research should be relevant, research should be meaningful. Now, if you see the rationalist or positivist, they hold that the only element of knowledge involved in the human activity is the technical knowledge. But this is one aspect of the knowledge. There is another aspect of the knowledge, that is the practical knowledge. And that practical knowledge, in other words, is also known as the civilizational knowledge. And that knowledge you can acquire from the tradition, from the custom of the concerned society. So what I call fact, is it the reality? Is it relevant for the society? Is it meaningful for the society? What I call fact, is it accepted by all as a fact? If not, there is a value. We cannot separate fact from the value. It's very clear. Now, in the first talk on political theory, a conceptual understanding of political theory, Acharya sir said that political theory is the combo of science and philosophy or speculation. No, science basically means you have to apply certain logic, and speculation is all about you have to learn the truth or facts from the history, from the tradition, from the custom. So there is debate between the traditionalist and behavioralist that why there is decline of political theory. For behavioralists, I think decline of political theory, it begins with behavioralism. They said that this traditionalism, this historicism is the main reason of this decline. But those who are against or who are critic to the behavioral tradition, for them the scientism is the main reason of this declination. So that's why Easton changed his position from behavioralism to post behavioralism. But again, in post behavioralism, there is a problem. And that problem is that post behavioralism accepts values. Does it mean that we should give a license to the researcher to tell the truth, whatever they feel? I mean, there is value of Aristotle, John Rawls, Walger. There is value of ordinary individual. So, what is the difference between these two values? If you see the post behavioral theoretician, I can call it, they are the contemporary political thinkers. You can find three kinds of or three schools of thought among them. Some contemporary political theorists, you can say they are the egalitarian liberal school of thought or neo-Kantian liberal political, or they represent the neo-Kantian liberal political theory. You can say John Rawls, Dawkins, Berlin, they come under this category. There is another category or school of thought, that is the libertarian category or libertarian political theory. There you can find Robert Nozick, David Gautier. There is communitarian school of thought. There you will find Michael Walzer, Charles Taylor, Benjamin Barber, and Michael Sandel. If you see the debates between them, you will find the debates are very much philosophical on one hand, and on the other hand, their debates is very much practical. In fact, the philosophy is all about the human existence, human behavior. If there is no solution in a philosophical conflict or debate, then certainly conflict will not end and politics will begin. So political theory, without becoming philosophical, it cannot hold its own position. Philosophy and practical life is closely related. Without philosophical, you cannot make political theory as relevant and meaningful. Because I told in the beginning that this technical knowledge is not the only one form of knowledge. There is another form of knowledge, that is the practical knowledge or practical wisdom, civilizational knowledge, or we can call that civilizational values. What you will discover from the tradition, from the custom, and from the society at the large. I think the main problem with the post behavioralism is that how to handle the value. How to handle the value. No doubt, values should be given importance. Without values, if you say that I am value free, then you are actually lying. But if I am given that license to use my value, am I going to create small theories on that value? Or by using that value, I am destroying the quality of qualitative research, of my qualitative research. What is value for John Rawls, Robert Nozick, Taylor, Walzer, Benjamin Barber, or Michael Sandel? What is value for them, or what they understand by value? We, the research scholar, are we understanding value in that sense, or we think that this post modern research or post behavioral research gives us a chance to write whatever we want. How to make our research to be relevant for the society, how to make our research to be meaningful for the individual society, how to bring the harmonious relation between individual, society and state. And today you see that harmonious relation is not there. That's why even political theory today, it is also not in a good situation. So that's why you see these neo-Kantian liberal theorists, libertarian theorists, communitarian theorists, they give different models to bring that harmonious relationship. But till now, the debate has not ended. In such a situation, can we say that political theory is on the resurgence mode or political theory is at the declining mode? So this is my observation, or this last sentence is my question to you, sir. Then I will go back to the students. Yes, sir. You have to unmute. You have to unmute, sir.
Can you listen me? Can you listen
Yes,
to
sir.
me?
Yes,
Right.
yes.
Achha. Your comments are very good. Ideally, positivist research and post-positivist research must be separate. But I have found some approaches where both the approaches are combined. So, in research books, I have found, if you read the book of McNabb, which is largely followed in Ravenna University, you find that there is combination of both positivist and post-positivist, quantitative and qualitative in certain researches. So it can be, I mean, they can be combined. They can be combined. And though I have not seen any research work done combining both the quantitative and qualitative research, but they can be combined as the research methodology books point out. But it will ideally it will be better if either positivist approach is followed or post-positivist approach is followed. And so far as the value things you told, I have already told you that the post-behavioralists, we are not very sure about their position. Therefore, I have some doubt that whether you can put it under the post-positivist category. But post-modernist, as I told you, they can be surely put under post-positivist category. Therefore, I told you that I have no doubt that postmodernist will be put under positivist category, and I also told you the reason. I have already told you the reason, and because they reject the empirist conception of science and they accept the post-empiricist philosophy of science that I have told you. So that is my viewpoint, and it is up to you whether you accept it or not.
Okay. So thank you, sir. I mean, till now I am also not convinced about that, value. The value what the contemporary researcher, I mean, we the researcher, we are following in our research, whether that value should be allowed or not.
Yeah, Himanshu, should I say something?
Yes.
So far as that thing is concerned, you know that you cannot banish values. So far as the selection of the topic is concerned, not only in the conclusion, but also when you select a particular topic, the research scholar selects or you select for the research scholar, your values guide you. Your values guide you. And when you come to conclusion, naturally some values will be there. So, and it would be better, so far as the behavioralists are concerned, they point out that it would be better because there is a great debate between the traditionalist behavioralists, there is a great debate regarding this value. The behavioralists say that if the researcher points out clearly in the beginning that what are his values, that would be better.
I think
So,
the researcher has to expose. his or her own values before the audience or in his work, so that the readers can really understand why the researcher is understanding or taking this position. So that exposition of that value is very important in the post behavioral research, I think. Okay, there is. I didn't find any questions asked by the student, but if the student directly want to ask the student to the speaker, they can, or participants. Any question? I think there is no question, sir. I think either student has they have understood, or they will take some time to understand it, because framing a question also requires some kind of prior knowledge on that or on this topic.
Research scholars are there present?
I'm not so sure actually. I
I
mean,
think.
okay. So let me come to the last part of this event. So I want Pritish Sharma to give vote of thanks to Professor Acharya. Yes, Pritish.
Thank you, sir. It is my privilege to deliver the vote of thanks to Professor Shamsundar Acharya, sir, for delivering an excellent lecture on the topic political theory in positivist tradition. And thank you, sir. Sir, your ideas on post-behavioral revolution have given a great insight on the topic. Sir, as you said, post-positivism, that knowledge is subjective and is value-laden, and knowledge is holistic, have broadened our outlook. Sir, your analysis on qualitative and quantitative research was in depth. Sir, your thought on modernity and theory goes beyond the science, and its connection with scientific knowledge has really motivated us, sir. Thanks, sir, for taking out time from your busy schedule to grace the event. Thank you, sir, for inspiring us with your words. I also thanks to Dr. Himanshu Sekhar Mishra, sir, Assistant Professor, Sambalpur University, and my PhD guide for organizing this series of lectures for benefit of the student, scholars, and academicians. I thank all the participants of this webinar for their active participation. Thank you, sir.
So thank you, Pritish, for your vote of thanks, and
Thank you, sir.
I must also thank to all the participants, and more importantly to the speaker. I think there is nothing more to say on this political theory, or if you speak, then you have to repeat, uh, most of the things what is already said. I think what is important of today's talk is uh, that how political theory has been has declined, has you know uh, had resurgence during the positivist tradition and during the post positivist tradition. And today the speaker also told about his experience of today's research. I think doing research in post positivist tradition, it is more difficult than doing research in positivist tradition. I think already sir told that doing research in science is very easy than doing research in social science. Uh, Researching social science is a very difficult task. So when you are given a chance to use your value while conducting your research, we should be very much careful, because this is post positivist research, and the responsibility of the researcher is to make the research to be relevant and meaningful to the to the larger entity, or to bring the harmonious relation between the individual, society, and state. That responsibility is on our shoulder. So it is not that I need to complete my research, so I have to complete it and I will get a degree, then I will go for a job. And this tendency that will finish the mankind. This is a bold statement I am saying, because research has its own objective, aim. Research is not a degree. Research is a problem understanding and problem solving activity. So this post-behavioralism has put larger responsibility on our shoulder, and we should be double careful while applying this post-positivist or post-behavioral approach in our research. So thank you, Syama sir. Thank you very much. Sir, namaskar.